I've got to read out a stat to our viewers because phenomenal what you guys did. 600 times is what you netted your particular fund. You invested in Spotify when it was worth just $35 million. It's now worth a cool $25 billion. Have you sold? Are you holding on to some of your shares?
Yes, we're holding on to the majority of our remaining holdings here. We did sell some year ago, but we do really believe in the prospects of the company going forward, and we think that the company has a long way. Just as Daniel said the other day, that it's just in the second inning of a long game here.
And Daniel Ek, of course, one of the co-founders, who's himself now worth a couple of $1 billion. PJ, talk to me therefore about some of the analyst commentaries that are coming out at the moment. We've had still no sells out on the stock. There's mainly buys and holds, but some are concerned about the margins on the business. Some are worried about the competition and how that puts pressure on the pricing going forward for Spotify. How does it continue to be a step ahead of the competition?
Well, I think the company has a few competitive advantages that is very hard for the others to replicate. One is that it actually reaches the entire device ecosystem, not just the Apple products or within the US, which is the case with Amazon. I think also the business model is largely a function of that the entire music industry is now moving towards a very well orchestrated idea of creating a marketplace, largely the brainchild of Daniel and his team, and they can thereby disintermediate a significant part of the industry and thereby really significantly improve the margins.
Emily mentioned at the start that we have seen a little bit of a sell-off in the share price today, closed down about 2%. I'm looking at my Bloomberg, where I'm going to explain to you what I see. If you dive into GTV, you can look at how Spotify is trailing its peers. It rallied a little bit at the end of trade, but we are off by 2%. I mean, underperforming the market, underperforming Pandora, Sirius, for example, today. What about the direct listing and the volatility that we see in the shares? Do you feel this direct listing was the best way to go rather than an initial public offering, as might have been more usual?
Well, I think it's a bit early to really draw any firm conclusions about that. It's clear that the company made the decision to go to do a direct listing because there was very little point in having the cost of an underwriter to raise capital or to sell secondary shares, where there was actually no interest in neither raising capital nor selling secondaries in a more conventional manner. So I think the downside is obviously that you don't have the kind of investment banking methodology of propping up the share price a few days after the listing, and I think that was a part of the expectations with many, including us, that there would be and will probably be some volatility going forward until the market has fully understood the qualities of the company and maybe seen another quarterly report or so that they have their business in great order.
What about you going forward, PJ? Because this is, I understand it to be the single biggest ever return for European VC fund. You've got money to put to work, €1 billion more than. What are you going to invest in next?
Well, we do see a lot of interesting things going on in Europe and also here in the United States. I think the difference with the venture industry right now from, for instance, 20 years when I started was that we are addressing huge markets, fundamental market shifts like the entire multi-trillion-dollar financial institutions industry. It's ripe for creative disruption, and you see also that there is a lot of venture capital money going into that space. So we're quite excited about that. Then also, obviously, the ideas of disrupting the traditional way of selling stuff. Typically through stores, and this is the direct-to-consumer trend, I think, is here to stay and will build over time.
I've seen the fintech businesses that you're in, like Zopa, iZettle in Europe. What does this mean for the European ecosystem? Because we've got to remember, it listed in America, but Spotify is a European company.
Oh, yes. I think it is tremendously important, and there will be more strong European companies going public within the next 3 to 6 months. I know for a fact.
Which ones?
Well, I don't think I'm at liberty to say that. But anyway, I think Europe has come of age now and can deliver truly strong companies that impress also on the most discerning American investor.